Transitioning professionals, my name is Samantha, founder of NameApp Consulting. I'm here to help you navigate, kick some goals, and get to where you want to be in your career. In today's video, I'm going to give you 10 tips that will help you ace an interview. At the end of this video, you will know all the tricks of the trade when it comes to interviews. What to do, how to do it, and when to do it. So stay tuned and don't go away. As a career transition expert, I have designed this channel to equip any professional with information that can make your transition to a new work culture easier. Now, before you get to that new work environment, we need to get you a job. So today, I'm going to walk you through 10 things you ought to be mindful of, 10 things that will help you ace a job interview. So here goes. I need you to know something that most people will never tell you. The first couple of interviews you go for will always be the crappiest. And just like any skill, you will develop over time and get better at interviewing. So appreciate opportunities for practice and use them wisely. Another thing is that you want to form relationships with professionals that can help you. For example, recruiters. I won't lie, we might not always have the time, but if you know how to play your cards right, you'll always get a few in your corner. And if you get good at building relationships, you can always surround yourself with people that will propel you towards your dream career. And recruiters are such people. So tip number 1, research the company you are interviewing with. When you do this research, you want to find out the history of the company and the type of business they are into. If they are a service provider, know the type of service they provide and who their customers are. If they provide an actual product or goods, do the same thing and know exactly what product it is they provide and who their customers are. Research the department of the team that you're going to be a part of. Find out who actually works in that team. For example, if you're applying for a finance job, do your research and find out who's working in this finance team. You want to go ahead and look up other people who are in the finance team, including the manager. Check for company reviews, especially from previous employees, to kind of gauge their work culture. Research the person or the people that are going to be part of the panel that will be interviewing you. You're welcome to ask for LinkedIn profile links of the people who are actually going to be interviewing you. It's allowed to go into their profiles and check out their profiles. And as a matter of fact, they need to see that you've viewed their profile. This also shows that you have taken an interest to get to know the people you're going to be interacting with. Tip number 2, prepare your answers and practice them. You might be out there asking what it is you should prepare, provided that you don't always know what they're going to ask you in an interview. And that's just it. The fact that you don't know what they will be asking you shows just how much preparation needs to go into this. It's like going to a battlefield with the hope to win a war you haven't prepared for. If you don't know how to hold a gun, if you don't know which direction to point the gun, then you'll be signing a death sentence for yourself. And the same principle applies when interviewing. Yes, you don't know what they will ask, but you know what they're looking for. So build your preparation around that. They'll ask you questions about your employment history. For example, please give us a rough background of your work experience. Now, an answer to this particular question would be one where you highlight or emphasize the link between what you have previously done and what they are currently looking for. Never forget to strategically answer questions in relation to what they're trying to achieve, which is the role that they're hiring for. For example, If a hospital is looking for a mental health nurse with 5 years experience, talk about the way your career has gone and showcase how it's progressed to a point where in the last 7 years or 8 years or 5 years, whatever it is, most of the patients you have dealt with have had a mental health illness. They'll ask you behavioral type questions. For example, they could ask, tell us about a time you were in a highly pressurized situation and how did you respond? They might even ask you to give them an example of a time when you didn't meet a goal and how you handled it. The best way to handle these type of questions or any type of questions in an interview is looking at examples beforehand and thinking of stories from your past working experience that could potentially be used as examples. Craft your answers in a way that shows that you have improved or learned something from the experience that you've had. Yes, you will not know exactly what they will ask, but you can Google some of these questions and get a rough idea of what type of questions to use for your preparation. Usually these questions are job specific. So when you Google, remember to highlight or include the job type you do. For example, you can Google search examples of interview questions for a mental health nurse job. That will help. Tip number 3, prepare questions for the interview. I always say this to candidates that I help prepare for interviews with my clients. An interview is a consistent qualifying moment. The interviewee is qualifying you as a candidate, but you are also qualifying them throughout the process to determine if they are your ideal employer. Before the interview ends, you will get an opportunity to really zone in and decide if they are the company that you would like to work for. Are they a brand you want to be associated with? Is it a team of management you would like to or be proud of reporting to? So when it's time to ask your questions, be very thorough and get as much information out of them as you possibly can. For a few reasons, actually. This will help you decide whether you want to join or not join the company. And the second thing is that it's a perfect moment to redeem yourself. You can actually turn this question asking session into a moment where they see you as a completely different person. And they might even find you a lot more attractive as a candidate. And the third thing is that even better, it's the right moment to showcase your interest. Ask smart questions, well thought and structured questions. Tip number 4, dress the part. Unless told otherwise, you need to dress the part. First impressions make a lasting impression. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. All of this is true about first impressions. And yes, it's a proven fact. People often change their minds about the first impression once they get to know a person, but even that takes a lot more effort than just rather making a great first impression. There's a lot of things involved when it comes to making a great first impression. I'll do a video on this soon, so be on the lookout for that. But this time around, it's about your image. Creating the right type of impression around what you look like. When interviewing, it's more about what you're wearing and how you're wearing it. A beautiful suit with a creased shirt might just not cut it. Wearing the wrong color tie or maybe the wrong color shirt. Wearing a suit when it doesn't really call for it, it's just not gonna cut it. It could be anything. The trick is in knowing and researching what the appropriate dress code is for the role you're interviewing for, in the industry you're interviewing in. Or maybe even the level of position you're interviewing for. Do you dress up or do you dress down? And if it's dressing down, to what extent do you dress down? For example, interviewing for an investment banker role versus interviewing for a technical sales consultant role, different outfits. Interviewing for a mental health nurse role, interviewing for a social worker role, versus interviewing for a personal trainer role or even interviewing for a mine engineer role. All different dress types. These are all different styles when dressing for the interviews. Tip number 5. Take a notebook or file folder with you. This is another value add in creating a lasting first impression. There's something a lot more attractive about an individual who shows their level of preparation and interest by having all these necessary tools. And I say necessary because it doesn't mean you are actually going to use them, but rather your level of preparation is so great that if it so happens that you need to use them, you have them handy. Another thing, if you're applying for a role where examples of your work will be useful, bring them along. A lot of the times marketing people need to showcase their portfolios. So you can have some parts of your portfolio with you to showcase examples of the work you've done. And when it comes to asking questions, they don't have to come from your head. You can literally open your folder and ask questions you had written down beforehand. This just spells interest, preparation, different, diligent. Maybe you can even write down some things you didn't quite understand about the company from the research you did, then ask questions about that. As long as it's relevant and is directly linked to the role you're interviewing for, bullseye. So make sure you've got a nice black folder with the resume copies in it, a notepad, a pen, and obviously contents of your portfolio if you need that, or any of the documents that showcase the work you've done, then you're good to go. Tip number 5, be on time. Being on time is good, but getting there earlier is even better. It gives you an opportunity to network with people within the company. You get to really have a feel of the environment and maybe pick up how people interact in the building. Are they friendly towards each other, or is it World War Z in there? Getting there earlier also helps you to relax your mind and body, as well as gather your thoughts and build up confidence. You get to calm down from the drive. Maybe there was a lot of traffic on the way. Maybe you struggled to find parking and you had to hurry your way around and get into the building before it was too late. I don't know, maybe you used a bus to get there and you were standing the whole way. Whatever the situation, getting there earlier allows for some downtime to regroup. It also helps with creating a good first impression. Everybody likes timekeepers. Everybody. So tip number 6, be engaged with people that you interact with, even in the building or the company. This tool will be a value add in creating that lasting impression. But at the same time, it helps to tick the box for you as someone who comes highly recommended. Hiring managers tend to like people that are most talked about by their already existing employees. So when you get there, you build rapport with the receptionist, maybe even the security guard at the entrance. It could be the janitor and a few other people that you meet in the hallway. All those people will at some point say something to the manager or the person who interviewed you. They will comment on how you interacted with them, whether good or bad. If you're really nice to them, they will be really nice in their recommendations, whether they are asked or they volunteer that information. Tip number 7, see the interview for what it really is. A conversation between two parties who have things to exchange. Companies put a lot of time and money into attracting the best talent. So if you have to believe that out of everyone who applied, they saw you to be potentially one of the best candidates, and so they shortlisted you for an interview, believe it. Getting an interview is the third step in the right direction. First, you prepare a killer resume, then you have to apply for the job. and then you get shortlisted for an interview. You have to believe that you are the best person for the job, and let that be communicated to them in the way that you answer your questions, as well as the way you present yourself. Don't be arrogant or cocky, be confident. The last 3 tips are really about your preparation once in the interview. Pay close attention to some of these details and be on the lookout for more detailed videos that I'm going to post in the next couple of weeks. Tip number 8, communicate effectively. I can never say this enough. Communication is key. The interviewer wants to know whether you have the ability to communicate your thoughts, emotions, stories, and experiences. They want to know if you are able to relay, describe, or clearly articulate how you are a good fit for the role or the organization, as well as what you can bring to the table. A lot of people think that an interview is really about a hiring manager asking you some questions and you answering those questions. And that's not what it's about. I mentioned earlier that an interview is a conversation between 2 parties who have things to exchange. Not one party asking another, but 2 parties exchanging. What you have to remember though is that how you deliver the message and how the message lands to the other side is the most important thing. Communicating effectively in an interview is all about understanding the right strategy on how to answer those questions. In turn, enables you to communicate effectively when the questions get asked. You've already done the research. You've practiced your responses. You got to the interview early enough to regroup, and now you're calm enough to clearly articulate your skills and your experience. These are all the things that will help you relay the message and showcase to the interviewer how much of a good fit you are to the role. Tip number 9, you need to project the appropriate levels of energy. Energy on campus is a lot of things, but what I'm talking about here is exuding energy that is positive with the right amount of enthusiasm. It needs to be personable and propitious. If you come across as nervous, worried, or scared, stressed out, too serious, maybe even a little depressed, the interviewer will smell it from a mile away and get turned off. No matter how much you look great on paper, nervousness just smells a rat. You have to be really aware of your energy levels and be cognizant of what sort of vibes you're giving off. Not just in the interview room, but even with the people that you interact with outside, in the foyer, at reception, etc. I've interviewed people who would come into the interview room and I felt like there was no connection. And most of the time, I would just switch off, often disqualify them. If they can give me that kind of vibe, I would definitely not want to send them to my client. Only for them to take that kind of energy to them. They want to determine if you're a fit for the company and the culture. Being a fit means how well of a match are you for the team, the department, the company. It's a combination of a cultural fit, but a bit of technical fit, and it's also a personality fit. When it comes to being a fit, you have to know what this organization or company is potentially looking for in order for you to know how to position yourself as the ideal person. To determine being a fit, break it down this way. Find out if you're firstly fit for the job. Think of what type of individual this company considers to be a good fit for anyone in that particular job. For example, when you apply for a sales job versus a finance job, even though they might be in the same company, they're 2 different fits. The sales job would be ideal for an extrovert, so someone who is outgoing, personable, and persistent, whereas the finance job would be ideal for someone who is methodical, someone who shows that they follow procedure, and all that kind of stuff. So very different personalities in the same company. Secondly, you want to know what a fit for the people who overly work for the company are. Determine what they value by looking at their website. Look at their photos, for example, and you'll tell what they invest their time in. What sort of vibe do you get from the images you see? Or maybe even the reviews you read. This is honestly very personal, and it has to be an intuitive thing. So you have to look within yourself based on what you find and think about what you think would be good fit. Looking at the profiles of the individuals that are actually working in the company will give you a sense of the type of people they like to hire. For example, people that get hired at Google would be different to the type of people that get hired at a national bank. The last thing is really about how well you are able to form a connection with the person sitting across from you. You can look the part and seem the part, but if the hiring manager doesn't get you or feel a connection with you, then it's really a hard sell from there. People want a deeper connection in every aspect of their life. Before, it used to be during their personal experiences and their lives, but now it's in the workplace. Everyone realizes that they spend just over a third of their day at work. And so it's become more important that they invite people into their space that they would enjoy working with and hanging out with. Obviously, people with the right skills and experience, but still people that they would enjoy working with. They want to know if you can do the job. With each job, there are certain skills a person needs to have. And the role is vacant because they need someone to join the company and bring some form of value to the organization. You then need to showcase your ability to bring this value into the company. A lot of people are always arguing that they're not getting jobs because they don't have the relevant work experience, or at least the level of experience required for the role according to the job description. If you don't have the level of work experience they require, but they still call you for an interview, then you need to ask yourself what it is that's making you not to get the job. Your problem is not that you don't have experience. Your problem is that you haven't demonstrated your value in the interview. What this means is that, one, you didn't communicate your stories effectively. You haven't been able to demonstrate how your skills and the bit of experience that you do have, maybe even whatever knowledge you've gained in school, is relevant to the position. So that's all on you. It's not because of your level of experience that you are not getting the job, but rather your inability to showcase your value to the hiring manager in an interview. The best way to showcase your value is by connecting the dots between what you have previously done to what needs to be done. It's by communicating that you have the ability to do what's necessary to get the job done. It's in showcasing your willingness and eagerness to learn. So figure out what your value is and then demonstrate it in the interview. And just as a bonus tip, hiring managers want to know that you are genuinely interested in the job. Aside from pure communication, inability to showcase your value, there is nothing worse than a candidate who just seems uninterested in the job. There is no bigger turnoff than that. If you don't want to be there, then don't go and show up in the first place. Cancel the interview well in advance and express why you are declining it, even after you applied for the role. That's if you applied for the job. And if you want to be there, make sure you demonstrate your enthusiasm and excitement for the job. Not in a crazy over-the-top type of way, but more of enthusiasm and I'm excited, I'm interested, kind of way. The more intentional you are about connecting with them, the more you showcase your value, the higher your chances of getting the job. So, in today's video, I gave you the top 10 tips plus more that are going to help you ace an interview. I hope they have been helpful. If you like the content, please give it a thumbs up and share with as many people as you possibly can. Let's spread some love and allow and help other people get jobs, especially during this pandemic. So if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button so that each time I post a new video, you get notified. I look forward to catching up with you every week as we change the immigrant narrative one city at a time.